Well, good afternoon. My name is Nelson Dent, and I am part of the OLA Awards and Scholarship Committee. And this is the virtual scholarship town hall for 2022. Today, we have various panelists, which really kind of neat. We selected last year's winners, and they're going to talk to you about how did they apply and what did they think about when they did their applications and so forth. We're also going to give you, we're going to start off with a tour of the OLA scholarship webpage so you can see where it is. It will be live now. Today is December 2nd. So as of this recording, it is good to go. We'll have various panelists and then we'll wrap it up at the end, just in case anybody's got any questions. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Allison, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you get started.
Okay, sounds good. Let me share my screen here. All right, can you guys all see that? Okay, so this is just the homepage to the OLA website. It's just oklibs.org. So the easiest way to get to the application is to just scroll down here under featured news and events and submit an award or scholarship application. And then all the scholarships are going to be down here. So the first one would be graduate scholarships, and here's the application. One of the things I would recommend, just click on the eligibility requirements, like to make sure that all of these things are met, and then you can click directly here for the Connie Van Fleet scholarship, or let's see, sorry, my screen is small. Okay, let's go back to the scholarship application. So you can, let's scroll down. So here's for the Connie Van Fleet Memorial Scholarship, and this application is going to look pretty much the same, except on here you do have an essay about intellectual freedom. So you'll want to make sure that you add that as well. And then the requirements are right up here at the top. So you can click in there to see the requirements. And then lastly, for the K-Boys Conference Experience Scholarship, if any of you are interested in applying for that, here is the information for that as well. Now, if you're just looking for fun information kind of about the different scholarships, you can always click up here and click on OLA scholarships, and that will give you just overall information, kind of past recipients, things like that. And you can also apply directly from these pages as well. So that's just kind of an overview, and I'll turn it over to the next person. Let me stop sharing my screen.
So our next presenter is last year's scholarship winner, Bailey. And Bailey, why don't you give us some of your thoughts, your takes on what you did?
Hi, everybody. I'm going to try one more. No, it's not going to do it. So my camera is not going to work. But so I was a recipient in the spring of 2022, and I'm really excited to be here and share some of my tips that really helped me in my application process. I'm going to focus more on the essay and question side because that is what I really struggled with. So my first tip is to make sure that you really take your time when you're applying for these scholarships, especially those that do require that essay or a series of short answers. In the past, when I'd sort of apply on a whim without really thinking too much about what I was writing, the other requirements, so long as I got it done and I was submitted, I was satisfied. That was not helping me receive scholarships in any way, shape, or form. And I knew that this year I was really going to have to change up the strategy for how I was applying. So this year I actually received the most scholarships ever in my academic career, including my undergraduate year. And I credit that to taking my time when applying, reading through all the requirements, and making sure that I've attached everything to that application before I hit submit. And then when you're writing an essay or responding to a short series of questions, I suggest first repeating the question at the beginning of your sentence and then going into what you want to discuss. That really helped keep me on track when I was writing, because I sort of go off on tangents and don't fully answer the question that was being asked. So in my experience, by repeating the question first, I was able to make my point and then go back to the beginning of the sentence, remove that repeated question, and the overall answer is fluid and thorough, if that makes sense. I also suggest being chronological with how you describe events or goals in your essays. For example, when I was writing my essay for the OLA graduate scholarship, I first discussed the experiences that I had in the past that related to what I'm doing now and how I'm going to use those skills that I learned to achieve my future goals. So I talked about my experience as a sociology major in my undergraduate years, how I gained an interest in prison reform through that program, and my experience working in libraries. And then I tied all of that information together by explaining how those experiences and skills would help me build a career in prison librarianship after I graduate with my MLIS in the spring. So essentially, you want to discuss what you've done so far, what you're doing now, and how those experiences and those skills will positively impact your future goals. Something that really helped me that I learned through one of the courses that I was taking in this program is the STAR method: situation, task, action, and result. You don't have to use that, but it helps me be more organized and thorough with what I'm trying to explain. And then make sure that you proofread everything on your application. So your name, your address, the university that you're attending. And I know that you can type your essay responses into the boxes in the browser, but I'd suggest doing it on Word or another program similar to Word. That way it can catch your spelling and grammar errors, because I had several of those before I did my final draft, and Word was able to catch those spelling and grammar errors for me, and I fixed them before I submitted. And then I really like to read my responses out loud as well, just to make sure that everything that I'm trying to say sounds fluid and that I've answered all parts of the question. And then finally, remember that even if you don't win a scholarship the first time you apply, you can apply again and you have, you know, a chance to win again. So even if you've already won a scholarship, you can still apply again. So I suggest that you do that as well. So in a nutshell, I suggest you take your time, make sure you're including all of those requirements, answer your questions thoroughly and chronologically, and proofread. And that was my experience.
Well, thank you, Bailey. That's great. That's great info. Now, Jason, what was your take on this? What was your kind of perspective? What did you think about when you applied?
Thank you. Yeah, I think a lot of what I have kind of echoes what Bailey says. She has some really good advice. Definitely taking your time when doing the essay. Don't rush through it. Don't just kind of half answer just to kind of get it over with. Take your time, really think about what you're writing. I'd also say have a second person look at it, like a trusted, maybe a friend, mentor, family member, whoever you have that you would, trust to look at that. Have them do that before you submit it. Make sure that it makes sense, that it's answering the question, that it's getting proofread. Second set of eyes can really help. So I would add that. That's one thing I did. And then also just being very mindful of the deadlines. It can really sneak up on you. So I would set calendar reminders in my phone for scholarship deadlines and award deadlines, just to make sure that I'm submitting it in time. I think that's really important. You don't want to wait to the last minute. You do want to give yourself enough time to go through that process and do it completely and as best as you can. And see what else. So yeah, phone calendar reminders. The essay, I also echo what Bailey said. I would type my responses for essays in Word. Instead of just typing it directly into the website. I would do it in Word. That way I could save it, I could come back to it, and then copy and paste it over when I was actually ready to submit it. Kind of treat it like you would treat a paper that you're writing for one of your classes. Just like another assignment that's going to be turned in and going to be graded. You want to take that kind of care and treat it with that importance. And yeah, I think that's really all I have. So Bailey explained it very well. I echo a lot of what she said. So thank you.
Thank you, Jason. And next up is Diana. Now, what was your thoughts and your take, and what was your approach?
There we go. Forgot to unmute myself. My approach was very similar to what Jason Bailey said. It seems like we had very similar approaches. So that I'm not repeating what they said. One of the things that really helped me as I was writing my essays in Word and then pasting them over is just to really, if you're mentioning a problem, also focus on a solution. Don't just mention a problem about it, but provide a solution for it, how you would tackle this solution. If there is something that you are passionate about in library information studies, that write from that passion. And when you write from something that you are passionate about, that's really going to come through on a paper. And I think that really also kind of comes through with the reviewers and the judges that are reading our essays. You can, as a judge, I think one can tell when a person is really passionate about a topic or when they're passionate about something. So whatever the task is to really write about something that really like has a special place in your heart, but also, providing a solution and what you would do for it and how your experiences have helped you, so far. To kind of reiterate a little bit of what Jason said is with the deadlines, a lot of those the scholarships, they do require references. And I know that for me, before I even began to even write my essay responses, I was already I started first with my references, because you just never know how busy those people are going to get. And so that's where I started first, is who am I going to use for my references for, and who are my 2 other people that are going to be backups if for some reason something happens to my initial 3. So that's where I started, is first identifying my references and then kind of checking in with them when I saw that deadline was approaching. Hey, as a reminder, don't forget to submit this, or don't forget that I need this letter of recommendation. So that was my thing, is really making sure that you pay attention to those deadlines and you really start with those references. And the transcripts wasn't really bad. I had to get, do the transcript process, but OU, I feel like, has really made that really easy to request. Trying to think of anything else. And yeah, I mean, really, I don't want to repeat what Bailey and Jason have said. It's really, it sounds like we've all kind of did the same thing. Definitely use Microsoft Word before you paste your response on the website. And I wouldn't do it all in one day. What I did is I kind of started working on it. That was like my rough draft. And then the next day I would kind of read over again, tackle it again, make sure that you are answering the question. And I think that's it. That's what I have. I don't want to repeat myself.
No, but that's great. That's great info. Melody, here you're a student and you're working full time. What's your approach to all this?
I have a little bit of a different perspective, in that not only have I applied and will I apply again this year, I have also served on the marketing and on the awards and scholarships committee. So I have to recuse myself sometimes, especially when your best friends are up for awards. You're like, I'm so sorry, I can't choose between these 2 people, and I'm going to step out of the room. But going through the process, I definitely made sure that my director knew what I was doing and what I was going to try to do, and try to get references within my field and people that I had worked with as the library director of a small library versus the children and young adult librarian here at Sapulpa. So coming between those 2, I had some really good references, and I had lots of people who would give me a reference, but maybe I didn't want all of those people to give me a reference, right? Because I'd graded some of their stuff before. So, you go through Grammarly and try to fix someone else's stuff. You can't really do that, right? So that coming through and making sure that I did use the Office 365 and put it in there and read through it between kids going to school and my kids attending OSU and doing all that kind of stuff. We had a very full plate and to get that done and in a time of quiet, that my suggestion is, to carve out, if you have a busy household, is to carve out a space and time where you will have the ability to sit down and read through and thoroughly understand and answer the questions in a way that will hopefully gain you, more leverage in that process. I know that we look for not only the person applying and talking about themselves, and you really have to talk about yourselves. And if you're an introvert, or if you are not one to boast or talk about yourself, it's really hard. But I want you to do that if I'm looking at this scholarship and say, I need to know, why are you the person that needs this scholarship over, these 6 other applicants, or maybe you're the only applicant, but what's happening here and what do you need? And why do you need this? I know that I am recently widowed, and so I know that that scholarship would greatly assist me, as the librarian scholarship versus radiologist scholarship is, or paycheck is not the same. So you have to factor in, can I get grants for this? Do you have other venues of opportunity that will help fund your education, such as, are you Native? Are you part of this group or this group? Different organizations that you may be in, Kiwanis or the Lions Club, anything like that can also help you in your neighborhood too. And those are just small organizations, but they do assist. And so just taking into consideration, if this is a viable solution for you, can you come through and get funding at this location? And, are you able to, to actually use that and, not take 12 different scholarships there, but, and also when you're applying, are you qualified for that particular scholarship? So sometimes we would have people apply and they had not completed their undergrad, or they had not, they were not specifically in the category that they were trying to apply for a scholarship. So the important thing is to make sure when you read the criteria for that scholarship that you actually meet that criteria. And, you have to turn away some really great people because they did not read through or completely understand or catch all of the details that apply to that scholarship, and therefore they were not eligible for it. And that is a very important factor. And it's very heartbreaking when you see someone has applied for the wrong scholarship on the drop down, things like that. And I know that I really look for that when I go through to apply. And, that's kind of my take on it. Just absolutely, Bailey covered everything I had written down here to talk about today. I was like, okay, well, she said that. Let me check that off. Okay, she said this. Let me check that off. So I was like, I'm not going to have anything to say at the end of this, Bev. I don't know if you can do anything at the end of this after me, but good luck. But just sitting there thinking, you need to read through it. You need to understand it. You need to check it. Grammarly is a great tool to use for that, or even a trusted coworker who did not flunk any kind of English class and uses proper etiquette and English around you. That would be great. Just, you don't want someone going, y'all, we need to do this right now. Gee, no, you don't want that kind of language in your paperwork. Obviously, I work with a lot of teenagers. I'm so sorry. But my point is just go through, take your time, make sure that you do qualify or that you are eligible for that scholarship, and do it over a few-day process, but make sure that you have time to dedicate to the application, because that is very important. And what I read on that paper coming in, I want to make sure that you are qualified. And then if you've got 3 great applicants, what distinguishes you from these other 2 applicants that would put you over the top? So I really want you to toot your own horn. I think that's it.
Well, thank you, Melody. No, that's great stuff. Now, Bev, you were last year's winner. What was your process? What did you think about when you were doing all this?
Yeah, so the first thing is you have already taken a good first step by attending this this meeting. Last year, I attended the town hall and actually looked up my notes that I took from last year. So maybe I do have a couple of new things I can share. Everyone's had such good tips. I would say when I was trying to think through how to answer the questions, I thought about what I'd done, what I was proud of, what I would like to do in a library setting, and kind of used that to guide my answers for my essays. Just because as Melody mentioned, you do want to toot your own horn, but you don't want to, sound like 100% conceited. So you're just sharing your story essentially about what you've done and how you want to make a difference in libraries. Let's see. I wrote down, here's where it sounds better this way. Think about what you have done, what you're proud of, or what you would like to do in a library. Oh, yes. And then use personal stories and examples so that you will have something that connects you to what you have to offer. So I think that was the thing that I tried to weave throughout my essay, was making it both personal but professional. So kind of balancing those two things so that when, as Melody said, they have 3 essays that are really good, 3 good applicants, what's going to set them apart? Well, oh, I remember that applicant had this story. I remember how he worked with these people and explained how he did that, so something that's going to help them remember yours or set yours apart from others. It's not just like the textbook answers that they might be looking for. I would also say, in addition to proofing your essay, that it would be highly advisable to have 1 or 2 other people proof your essay. I mean, I feel like I'm fairly good at English, but even my husband, who's not like super great at English, he might look at it and say, oh, this could be a little better. Maybe you should tweak this wording a little bit. And then I also have a friend who was an English major. She's always on my list to proof things for me. So that's important. And then the references were mentioned. I just feel indebted to people who do references, because that is just something they do on the side that's extra time for them. And so just be courteous about that and give them plenty of time. Make sure you communicate the deadline for them. And if you can, write thank you notes for them, once you've confirmed that they've sent that in, that's a nice thing to do. And also keeping them updated on the scholarship process. So if you know that the scholarship winners are going to be announced at the end of January or whenever, and if you get the scholarship, call them, email them, text them, say, hey, I got it, thank you. If you don't, also say, hey, didn't get it this time, but thank you so much for being my reference. So just those kinds of things are going to go a long way. My biggest tip is look at the scholarships, figure out ones you qualify for, and apply. I mean, I think so many people are just either intimidated or think they don't, they haven't worked in a library yet, or they're older, or they're really young or something. And so they just don't apply. And, you won't get one if you don't apply. So look at all the ones that you apply for all of them that you can. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Beverly. All of you, all the panelists were just fantastic. Allison, you got anything to weigh in before we close this out?
No, I mean, I think everybody, said it really well. And one thing I will say, which I'm a recipient of the Connie Van Fleet Scholarship, and I'm also now on the Awards and Scholarships Committee. And everything that everybody said is absolutely true. And just remember that everyone on the OLA Awards and Scholarships Committee, they are all fellow librarians in Oklahoma. So those personal stories, we get that. And it really does. I loved you guys saying that, because it gives us the feels, and that's what I like. So, but we like to see the impact you're making. So, and apply for all the scholarships, not just this one. Apply for Folio, apply for every scholarship you can. That's all I have.
I second that. I really agree with that. I'm part of the committee as well. And just those personal stories are just fantastic. I want to thank all the panelists today. This session, again, is recorded. The nominations are live as we're doing this. They go all the way December 1st to December 31st. And that's when we start receiving everything. So if you know anybody that wants to look at this clip really quick, we have kept it just about 30 minutes, which is kind of nice and easy for everybody to do. And we will have that available for you really soon. Again, thank you everyone for coming in today, just kind of doing the town hall here, and we really appreciate it. And have a good weekend. And we want some good scholarships coming our way.